Hi, my name is Donna. I'm 17 years old, and I was the most popular girl in my class. Would you be upset if the whole school saw photos of you completely naked? Sounds complicated, right? If you watch the video to the end, you will find out how I coped with the situation and how I managed to find myself in it. I love being photographed. I imagine myself a famous actress in character. My ex-boyfriend always laughed about it. He said I didn't look like an actress, but like a monkey. But that's not the only reason we broke up. It was much worse. And it's a good thing we don't cross paths at school. I don't want to hear about him, let alone see him. When we broke up, my best friend Brenda was very supportive. At first. And then she stopped. We suddenly started communicating as if we weren't friends, just classmates. Hi, bye. We stopped walking together after school, going to the mall, and going to the movies. I couldn't figure out what it was. But suddenly she wrote to me and invited me to visit her. We hadn't taken pictures together for a long time. She missed it. I was so happy. It's really been a long time since we had fun together. When I arrived, Brenda said that she had come up with a great idea for a photo shoot. She picked up everything so that I could repeat scenes from movies, in similar costumes with the same makeup, in the same poses as the actresses. Of course I agreed. Do you like to arrange photo shoots like real models? It was fun at first. Brenda was showing the images on her tablet and I was depicted in them. I made a great Wonder Woman, a good Hermione, and a terrible Maleficent. But then the footage became more and more strange, indecent. I said that I was ashamed, but Brenda laughed, saying that it was a great idea, let's have fun, and then delete it. Anyway, I was shooting. And completely naked and, well, in every way. And the next day at school, my ex-boyfriend Steve came up to me and showed me these photos. I wanted to kill him on the spot, but I stood there like a post. Steve said that I would do whatever he told me to do now, or else he would put the photos on the school network. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there until he left. When I came to my senses, I ran to Brenda to ask where Steve got my photos. And Brenda laughed and said she gave them to him. And that she had been Steve's girlfriend for a month. And I was a fool to leave a guy like that. That's for sure. I felt like a fool to be friends with such a creature. I didn't know who to ask for help. My parents? But they would shout that it was my fault if I was being photographed naked. The teachers? Then someone would find out that I had such photos, and the word would go all over school. I wouldn't wash myself from this until graduation. Anyway, I didn't tell anyone about it. I hoped that he would scare me and forget. We parted with a terrible scandal, but did he hate me enough to completely ruin my life? For 2 weeks, Steve didn't show up. I began to calm down. Maybe everything would go well. The bitch Brenda tried to talk to me, but I sent her away. At the same time, I made a very good presentation about plastic waste in the ocean. The teacher praised me and then suggested that I repeat it for the whole school at the science festival. He said it would be a good line on my college resume. I was very happy. I buried my head in sites about ocean pollution. I didn't care about those two assholes, Brenda and her Stevie. On the eve of the presentation, I received a message from him. He very rudely ordered me to go to his house to have sex. I was angry, of course, and I said no, and turned off the phone. And then I got really scared. What would he do next? Would he carry out his threats? I turned off my phone, but I still didn't sleep all night. I imagined all sorts of horrors. That he would print out these photos and put them up all over the school like posters, or that he would make leaflets out of them and distribute them to everyone. There was nothing like this at school this morning, but I met Steve almost immediately. He didn't come close, but as I passed, he said, "You made your choice." My hands were shaking and tears were pouring from my eyes. I stood there again, not knowing what to do. One option was worse than the other. Everyone would find out anyway. For 10 minutes, I gathered the courage to either call my mother and ask for advice or go to the principal. I didn't know what was worse. While I was tossing around, it was time to go perform. I gathered all my strength and told about the pollution of the ocean. They listened to me carefully and asked me questions. I think I did a good job with the presentation. It was great. I got carried away pretty quickly and forgot about Steve for a while. And suddenly, on the last slide, instead of a poster with a call to save the ocean, there was that very photo of me, the most vulgar and terrible of all. I ran without looking around. I wanted to be as far away as possible in Australia or Siberia as long as I wasn't at school. Where would you go if you felt there was no more room for you in the world? When I got home, I said that I wasn't going to school anymore. Never in my life. My parents didn't even ask me what was wrong, but started talking to me about the benefits of education and all that. I locked myself in my room and decided not to go out until I was old. I didn't know what to do. I was mad at Steve, at Brenda, and most of all, at myself. I erased all my photos, but it didn't seem enough. I smashed my phone against the wall and for a long time stamped on it with my heel. My parents were knocking on the door, saying something, but I didn't hear them. Then they fell behind. I didn't know how much time had passed. Maybe an hour, maybe a year. I lay there and stared blankly at the wall. It felt like my life was over. There was another knock on the door. I opened it to tell my parents to back off. But they weren't my parents. Brenda the traitor stood on the threshold. I screamed. I wanted to hit her, scratch her with my nails, bite her, but I didn't have the strength. Why was she here? To see how my life was trampled on? To gloat? I screamed in her face that she made a complete wreck of my life, and then my strength went somewhere, and I quietly asked why she did this to me. Brenda said that Steve made her do it. Yeah, 3 times. She probably wanted to please her Stevie. And Brenda started telling me. When Steve and I broke up, he immediately hit on Brenda. At first, she liked that she had taken the tough guy away from me, but then Steve started acting like a jerk, as if I didn't know what he was like. She wanted to send him away, but he said that he would tell everyone that she was a whore and all sorts of nasty things. It sounded childish, but Brenda's parents were very strict. They didn't let her go out with guys, and if they heard something like that, she was not going to be happy with it. So Brenda was afraid to resist Steve. She became his thing, his servant. She did everything he said. He made her set me up too. My stomach turned over. That thing Steve was torturing my friend. And I didn't even notice it until it came to me. And then Brenda started asking me for help. Steve was demanding more and more of her. Brenda said I was very brave if I had the guts not to go along with Steve. Was I the brave one? I was afraid to leave the house now. The whole town was probably talking about me. Brenda said no. After my presentation, our biology teacher came out and started talking about the problem of ocean pollution as if nothing had happened, and that someone who had tried to disrupt the presentation did the same thing as someone who threw garbage in the ocean, that the ocean was defenseless, like a man before a bully, and it was as easy to kill him as to spoil the performance with a ridiculous trick, and no one laughed at my misfortune. Everyone was worried about me, but the teacher said I needed some time alone. So when I go back to school, everything will be fine, even without a reprimand. I told Brenda we should tell the whole school about Steve, because otherwise he would continue to use other people. When we told the principal that we wanted to speak, he supported us. He said that what Steve was doing was called blackmail, and it was a real crime. And Brenda and I told the whole school how Steve had humiliated us, how we'd become enemies because of him, and how it all came out later. I was very scared and ashamed, but I saw how carefully I was being listened to, how a girl began to cry. This meant that my speech was necessary and useful, and I was happy if I could help someone. These things don't just happen at our school. So I wrote the story here. If you want to help those who are being blackmailed, give us a like so they can see this video. Subscribe to our channel and you will hear many more cool stories. Good luck and strength to you so you can overcome any troubles.